we are unproductive because we're unintentional. And so if we can just get that intentionality back and we can just, get that control back, our productivity will naturally boost. And so what routine is it that's either you don't have, or that's maybe not full of distractions, or maybe it's not helping you in any way? So analyzing your routine. And I always have my clients actually track their week. So I give them a workbook that I created and they literally track their week. So that way they can see their energy fluctuations as well. And they can see, I'm actually really energetic in the mornings. And that's when I feel like I could eat the frog and do my tougher tasks. But then in the afternoons, I would way rather just do my meetings. So that way I don't have to actually work in the afternoons. Okay, great. Awareness is power. Once you track your week and you actually learn that about yourself, you can then set up your schedule to match your energy fluctuations. So that way you always have the energy to do the tasks that you need.
Welcome to the Limitless Podcast, the show where women entrepreneurs become radically aware of their limiting beliefs, learn to value their worth, generate wealth, and to thrive as a magnetic brand leader. I'm your host, Jamie Ratermann, a six-figure holistic business coach. I've helped over 100 rebellious entrepreneurs master marketing, embody leadership, and say fuck it to the hustle. Let's dive in. Hello, lovelies. Welcome to another episode of the Limitless Podcast. I can tell you that this is an extra special episode because I'm having a little meet cute. The guest that we have today is someone who's been highly requested, and our lovely Danny, the woman who is editing our podcast, you have to have her on here. But of course, even to the previous guest on the podcast, Emily Guerra, has told me about Emily Guerra. So welcoming Emily to the podcast today. I'm so excited to have you.
I am so excited to be here. Thank you so, so much for the opportunity. And I cannot wait to get into our conversation.
Amazing. So we're going to be talking about productivity, that thing that bothers you all the time, that we're always looking for hacks. We're always trying to figure out how to be better, how to do more, try not to hustle, all of the things. There's so much that comes with productivity. And I think there's such a sense of, our self-worth is built in it, all of the above. So first and foremost, Emily, give us a full rundown. Who are you? And tell us a little bit about what you do.
Of course. Well, as you said, my name is Emily Guerra. I am a certified productivity life coach. A lot of people know what a productivity coach is. A lot of people know what a life coach is. Not a lot of people know what a productivity life coach is, which is so fair. I think it's a very unique position I am in. And what I really do is I unite personal and professional development. I strongly believe you cannot have professional development without first working on the personal development a little bit. And so what I do is I help self-employed women overcome different mindset hurdles so that way they can actually boost their productivity for the long term. So that way they can really achieve those work from home visions that they have. And the way I do that is through one-on-one coaching. I have a blog with a ton of free resources. I have an online course, and then I have text message marketing too, where you can get bite-sized, easy, and applicable quick tips and tools.
Beautiful, beautiful. I think that's one of the things when somebody decides to walk into entrepreneurship, there's a bit of a, we put a little bell on it, oh, you get to be your own boss. You get to spend your days exactly how you want to, all of the above. But there's a sense of internalized corporate life and what we should be doing, how we should be spending our time. So I would love to just first hear your own story. I mean, I love that you're a productivity life coach, but what made you decide, okay, I want to do this thing full time. I'm going to be a productivity coach that helps other people do the same.
Well, it's actually kind of a windy road to get here. I originally was going to be a wedding planner, and then 2020 happened and lockdown happened the same year that I graduated from college. So I graduated right into lockdown, and wedding planning and weddings just were not happening. So I kind of had to figure out, okay, do I want to wait for lockdown to eventually end and so I can eventually start my career? Or do I want to actually take control of my career and just start making money now? And I decided to pivot. So I started freelancing out social media services just to make some money and move back to my hometown and just follow the plan that I had already. So that was kind of step number one for me. And then what happened after that is I started naturally just coaching my social media clients. I started asking them about their systems and their SOPs and their workflows and templates. And if they didn't have any of them, I would help them in creating those. And then we would also talk a lot about mindset and how they actually can be productive while working from home. And I helped one of my social media clients out so much that he's told me I should really start a coaching business because the results that I got for him were tremendous. And it would be awesome if I can do it for a lot of other people. And I took that idea and I ran with it and I created the productivity flow and immediately started productivity coaching.
Oh my gosh, it's amazing. I mean, I think there was such a sense of, can I be as productive when I'm by myself and all those things. So I love hearing that this is a need that came out of just wanting to help people. I think when it comes to entrepreneurship, a lot of people kind of come into it maybe for the wrong reasons. They like, oh, I'll make more money, I'll do these things, but coming into it with I can help these people and like I'll make this profitable is always such a beautiful place to start. And I think we can officially say this might be the youngest Limitless expert we've had, which is lovely. I'm 100% for it. You're taking your full power. But also too, like there's a lot of strength in going like, okay, I'm going to make this into a business, especially for what we've been told. What we should do after college is to grab a job, even like if we're spending any time not pursuing our the ladder, it feels a little bit weird. What do you remember happening when you were like, I want to do a business. I want to make this into a business. Was there a little bit of like, what am I doing? But are you the kind of person who's like, let's go, just try this thing?
A little bit of both. So I never thought about being self-employed before COVID. It just was not an idea that ever landed in my mind, which is kind of funny because I actually have an entrepreneur for a dad, and one of my older brothers is an entrepreneur. So there's a lot of entrepreneurs in my family. My grandpa was even one, and my other grandpa, actually. So both of my grandpas. So it's just like really funny that never was an idea that I had. And then with COVID and just wanting to be able to make money right as I graduated, even though it was lockdown, I just felt this kind of entrepreneurial spirit within me, which I think stems from being raised by an entrepreneur and just having entrepreneurs in my family. And so when the idea to actually start a business popped up, I was very hesitant at first because I also saw how challenging it can be to build a business firsthand just from my family and watching them do it, that I was kind of like, I don't know if I want to deal with that. Like, I don't know if I want to like shoot myself in the foot a little bit and make it a little like make my life a little harder. But then I realized, no, this is what makes me happy. I would not be happy in a 9 to 5. I just wouldn't. I've had my whole working experience be on my own terms. And if I had to go work for someone else, I have a feeling that I would challenge them a lot. And I would be like, no, I can get it done, by 3 p.m. and have the last 2 hours of my day to myself. What do you mean? Like, that's how I work now. Like, why can't I do that there? And so I really just felt called to continue working for myself. And I also really felt called to just help people however I can. And so it felt like the perfect marriage of the two. And not to say that it hasn't been scary and I haven't questioned myself. And
we gotta be real here. We gotta be real.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest.
It's scary.
It's been a little scary and it's been pretty challenging. And I think not having gone into a corporate job before I started working for myself was a very untraditional path that a lot of people don't take. And the one reason why I think a lot of people probably don't take this path is to create a savings and to create kind of like a foundational place of stability that you can then work off of. So I didn't necessarily create that, and I didn't have that form of stability before I started working for myself. And that is what has kind of led to me feeling overwhelmed at times and to me feeling stressed at times, is because I didn't set myself up ahead of time financially. So that would be like the only real hurdle that I was really questioning in the beginning. Like, should I even try this? Should I go for it? And then I decided to not let finances ruin my dreams or prevent me from trying to get to my dreams. So long-winded answer. Long-winded.
I could totally talk about this topic because I think one thing about going into corporate is that I think that's the kind that people assume that there's just this stability, but within that there's so much excitement that can come from like, oh, at minimum I'm going to be paid this much every month within your entrepreneurship journey, but it's about setting things up. So this is exactly what we're talking about today. So whenever we are walking into thinking about our own productivity patterns, what we can be really thinking about, what would you say is three important, let's say, just areas that somebody should be looking at to set themselves up for strong productivity?
Oh, I love this question because there's honestly so many areas. But if we had to narrow it down, I would say the first one is self-talk. And that's not something that we actually kind of think of when we think of productivity. We don't think about how we talk to ourselves. But if we're not encouraging ourselves or empowering ourselves to get over that procrastination or to get over that dread or to deal with the overwhelm or the stress, then we're not going to act productively. So the way that we ourselves actually really does matter. So that's number one. Number two, I would say routine and following a routine, especially if you work from home. It can get so easy to let distractions run your day. So it's about not doing that. It's about taking your power back from those distractions. And then third, I would say is motivation. Why do you want to be productive? What is it that you're setting out to do? What are the results that you're trying to get? If you don't have that in mind, it's actually really hard to be productive because you don't know where you're going. And so having a motivation really helps you create an action plan and it helps you stay on course.
Okay, this is what's lovely about this conversation is that talking about routine specifically, that your second piece is that whenever somebody decides that, you know what, I don't want the 9 to 5, I want to be able to walk out and do the things that I want to, the idea of routine can feel, unfortunately, like a cage for some, where they're like, I want to be able to have a spontaneity in the day to day. And, part of the way I see things is that really being able to have systems, routines are actually what allows you to create freedom.
Exactly.
And going back absolutely to what you were saying before about, income and everything that comes with corporate versus entrepreneurship, it's about, if you haven't set up the system for consistent income, then you're not going to feel the ability to be spontaneity, to be free. So, but bringing this back to productivity, what would you say are keys to have as a system within your routine, but also maybe getting over that, and let's just call what it truly is, an excuse to not set up systems and be able to no, this is actually what's going to create freedom for me, is to have this routine. So tell me a little bit more about how would you tell someone to get started with building?
Totally. So firstly, I actually feel like one of the biggest pushbacks I do get from clients is setting up a routine, because working for yourself means that you're in control, right? And you don't really want to lose that control to your routine. And that's how we can perceive it a lot of the time. But exactly how you said, having a routine allows for spontaneity because it prevents you from getting overwhelmed. So let me explain what I mean by that. Let's say that you really want to just be able, actually, I'm going to give an example from my own life. So a little better. So I have 3 younger siblings and they are 11 and then twins who are 9, and they live like 10 minutes from me. And I absolutely love being able to end my work days at 3 o'clock. So that way I can go over there and hang out with them after school. And so I do that twice a week. And at first, I was really worried if my routine would allow me to do that, because I'm like taking a couple hours out of my work day. I need to make sure that I am, still get all of my tasks done, but I still want that freedom and flexibility to go and hang out with my little siblings. So how do I do that? By being intentional with certain parts of my day, by creating mini routines throughout my day. So I have 5 mini routines that I call rituals that I think really can help you just structure your day. You don't have to follow a 9 to 5 exact schedule, but if you can follow a routine to start your workday, a routine in the middle of your day to take a break, a routine to end your workday, a routine to go to bed at night, a routine to wake up in the morning, then you can structure your day bit by bit and you feel that sense of control. And then you can allow for buffer blocks for, 3 hours in the day that can change every single day. And you can do whatever it is that you want during those 3 hours, because you've taken care of everything else during your other rituals. So daily rituals are really the secret, I think, to taking back control of your work from home routine.
I love this. So I think part of what is lost a little bit whenever somebody is trying to do this is that they think that like a routine is about how to get the most done in the day. And
Hmm.
on one side of the coin, that is absolutely true. On the other side of the coin, like routines can also be a way for you to build yourself up. So whenever you finish your day, or when you finish the work, at least for the day, you still have that energy to be
Yes.
spending time with your brothers and sisters, with your nieces and nephews, with your friends, whatever that might look like. Because I think the one of the things when somebody talks about morning routines is like I get a bit of an eye roll. Like they're like, "Ugh,
Right.
a morning routine. Yeah, okay, I'll
Oh, yeah.
meditate, I'll journal. Okay, fine." Like they give that full eye roll. But the idea, or at least whenever I talk about this with clients, is that it's about building yourself up. Like you have, for me, a good journal in the morning is going to be my ability to like absolutely kind of design how I'd like my day to go,
Yep.
make sure I don't have any attention residue about something that happened last week or an idea that I want to put together.
Totally.
But also too, like if I have just 10 minutes to just let those bleed out on the paper, then whatever my task list is, I have full focus. So whenever you're
Exactly.
talking about routines, what would you say are essential outside of the work itself, like outside of the work itself that builds somebody's productivity levels?
Honestly, taking breaks, that's huge. And it's something that I think working from home, we can so easily just not do because we're,
Totally.
already in our home. We already feel like it's kind of a little bit of a break in a way. And so why would we step away and take a break in another part of our home? It's kind of funny if you think about it. And so taking breaks can actually really, really boost your productivity because our brain can really only focus for roughly an hour at a time. So after an hour, your brain is already shutting down, whether you want it to or not. How do you get your brain to be efficient again? By stepping away, by moving your body, maybe going out and taking a walk. I love walks. I take 3 a day because they're just like, I have a dog also, so that helps. But I just love getting out and being able to be in the sunshine and fresh air. It's like a little brainstorming session in a way. And then maybe doing some yoga and stretching and just getting your body moving again. That can be so, so big for your productivity because you feel 10 times focused when you come back. You feel 10 times more energized because you actually took care of your body and you gave yourself the fuel that you need to keep going. And so taking breaks and stepping away from work is actually how you be more productive when you get back into work.
I love that. I love that. I'm a Pomodoro like
Yes.
I love a good Pomodoro. I like to do like more of a 35 on, 3 minutes off. That'll be kind of what I end up doing. And
There you
I'll
go.
like unload the dishwasher
Yes.
sometimes, or I'll like go talk to my husband, or I'll like answer some text messages, like just be able to switch it. But also too, of course, the longer breaks, I'll do a walk or things like that. And I
There you
think
go.
what it is, or what I like to use my breaks for is one, to truly not think of the task that I'm on. So if I'm
Yes.
doing, let's say, social media content, I know that if I walk away for 5 minutes, grab water, whatever I need, or go on a walk, like if I try to remove myself from the sentence I was trying to finish, the idea I was trying to formulate, that likely I'm going to leave myself room to like have something kind of drop in. And this is
Exactly.
this is how I know people don't take breaks. Somebody will be in the middle of a sprint with me, or a content planning sprint with me, and they'll go, "I get my best ideas in the shower." And I love that everyone has great ideas in the shower. I'm not saying
But
you shouldn't have
why?
good ideas in the shower, but if the shower is the only time that your mind is off of work, or your mind
Exactly.
is truly relaxed, you're not taking breaks. And I'm
Exactly.
wholeheartedly into this, and the idea of taking breaks here.
Oh my gosh. Wait, I love that you said that because that's so common. Like I hear that all the time. Oh, I get my best ideas in the shower. It's like, okay, but why? Are you not stepping away enough during the day? Is the shower really that only time that your brain has to kind of ruminate on everything that's been happening? And if so, what can you do to give yourself that time? It doesn't need to be 15 minutes. It doesn't need to be as long as your shower. It doesn't, it can only be like 3 to 5 minutes, honestly. But being intentional and being accountable of your self care and of what your brain needs is honestly a lot harder than we make it sound. But it's so incredibly effective. And it's such a small, tiny thing that you can do that will actually transform your productivity.
Oh, 100. We're both doing a check mark over here. Seal of approval. If you don't currently take at least a one break an
At
hour,
least.
I'm going to tell you, do it. Just please do it. Just don't ask me why. Just do it. Try it, and then tell me what kind of energy you have. I think
Exactly.
what I was saying before, I run what it's called these content planning sprints where we spend 2.5 hours building content, and like we have
Oh, I
me
love
as an
that.
expert, and like we get to help with those things. But built in is Pomodoro, and built in is what like activities you can do to boost your brain power. And the number one thing that I will have is that, hey guys, it's not mandatory to take a break, but try it. See what happens when you do. And get at the end, they're like, I actually have energy after doing work for 2.5 hours. And I'm like, this is the point, is that we aren't like our brains are truly a muscle. They're truly a muscle. So if
Exactly.
we're just flexing them for 3 straight hours and keep going, don't stop. Like we're going to that's going to be like, we're done. We
Yeah,
can't form a sentence anymore. It's not going to work out. So I think
exactly. Like,
it's
no
a holistic
wonder.
approach for sure.
Totally. And like, no wonder we end up exhausted at the end of the day, right? Like, I personally went through a phase where I just felt like I could not do anything after work or even on the weekends. I needed a nap. I just was so burnt out and so exhausted, but I didn't really see that. And I just kept trying to push myself and kept going until I literally hit a brink of exhaustion. And I'm pretty sure I slept for an entire weekend straight one point because my brain was just like, girl, you need this. You need to slow down, like help yourself. And so just listening to your body. If you are exhausted at the end of the workday, then question why. Like, have you not been taking enough breaks? Are you eating right? Are you giving yourself that energy and that fuel that's healthy and that lasts all day long? Or is it just sugar and coffee? Like, because I definitely had to really adjust my eating routine when I worked from home because I would have all the snacks available to me in the one room over. How do I not go eat some chips right now? And just like making sure that I'm giving myself stuff that fuels me energetically. So just like
Yes.
analyzing and asking yourself those questions. So key.
Perfect. Perfect. I think this is a good note here. If you right now are trying to be more productive, check yourself if throughout the week, Monday, like even just doing it daily, going, all right, 5 o'clock hits or whatever time you decide to turn off for the day. And you're like, how much energy do I have? And it's going to
Yeah,
more be mental energy. Like, am I tired
exactly.
that I can't do anything else? Because this is what happens. You'll walk away from your computer and then you'll open your phone and then you'll scroll and you'll scroll and you'll scroll and you're like, I thought I was supposed to use my hours. Like you lose the time just because you are completely drained mentally from the way in which you conducted your workday. So I think that's right now one thing that Emily's giving us is take a moment. If you are tired or burnt out at the end of the day, you might need to check your productivity practices. I think that's a big
Exactly.
deal. I feel like
Couldn't
I
have
want to
said it
bring up
better
something.
myself.
No problem. One thing I want to bring up is that I have a lot of people that will talk about productive procrastination a
Mm-hmm.
little bit. So like being able to choose which task you have. So this is a natural thing that comes up is that, well, James, I ended up like organizing my desk and I ended up uh fixing I have a lot of people who love their Notion, but like beautifying my Notion planner, and I did all my dishes and I did all these things, but I didn't get the task done that I said I was going to do. So, you can say that you did things, but the thing that's going to like keep you up at night, you still
Right.
decided to procrastinate that thing. How would you help somebody that tends to find everything else to do but the task they absolutely need to do?
One productivity hack because I am that way. Let me just first start by saying I am the person that will use organization as a form of procrastination because it feels good. It still feels like you did something. And that to me is great, right? But sometimes we have those tasks that just eat us alive because we know we have to get them done. And so one thing I practice literally every single day, and I have all of my clients practice, is eating the frog. And people are always like, what? Like, why I don't want to eat a frog. Ew, like that sounds disgusting. And I'm like, I agree. You're
That's
not
the
actually
point.
eating.
That's the metaphor.
It is actually. So, what that really means though is just doing your toughest task that you have first and getting it off your plate, off of your energy, off of wasting energy, I should say, and out of your mind. And the reason that it is so much easier to do the toughest thing first is because then you're not spending all day dreading it. You're not spending the entire day wasting energy just ruminating over it, thinking about it, worrying about it, letting the procrastination and dread build up. Eliminate all of that and just at least get it started. Set a timer for maybe 15 minutes, 20 minutes, however long feels good to you, and just get it started. Half of the time when we actually get going, we'll feel a sense of flow kind of kick in and we'll want to keep going because like, oh, I can finally get this off my plate and done with. Amazing. Let's keep going. Let's do it. But it's the act of getting started that is really challenging one. So when you can just get it started and eat the frog and do it first thing in the morning, and your 15-minute timer is up and you followed through, that feels really good. And that'll empower you to, chase that feeling for the next day. So then the next day you can eat the frog again, and maybe you do another 15 minutes, maybe it's 30 this time, whatever the case may be, but slowly and surely eat the frog until it's done.
I love the concept of eat the frog. I think it's like in general, my best task, the things that move my needle, the things that happen, they get done in the morning. And I even have, I have clients who love a 10 to 7 schedule and like get up later in the day and different things like that. And I'm like, if that's what you want, that's totally fine. But then when they get around to 6 and they're like, I didn't get anything done in the day. And it's because they have their client meeting start at like 12 and then they, like being able to use that time. But I think there's a sense of this is like really remove the barriers of doing the things you need to do. So I even take it a step further is that when you close down for the day, like open the document or open the thing, get rid of any other tabs, get rid of any attention residue around you, maybe even set your desk up in a nice little way so that it feels like you're just so excited to walk into it, and promise yourself, I go as little as 5 minutes. Like when the timer goes for 5 minutes and you're like, I don't want to do this, then sure. But I guarantee if you truly let yourself really get into it for 5 minutes, you're going to keep on going. You're going to keep on flowing.
I love everything you just said. And honestly, what you just described with at the end of your workday, set your space up, open all the tabs, declutter your desk. All of that is actually a workday shutdown ritual. And so that is just another one of the routines that we talked about earlier that you can put into your day to gain that sense of control back, but to also just set yourself up for success for the next day, because that's really what a workday shutdown ritual is all about. So I love that you practice that. And I also practice that and encourage that with my clients too. Like, how can you make tomorrow morning easy? What is it that you need to do that makes starting that task as simple and less chaotic in your mind as possible? That really is the goal of a workday shutdown.
I love that. I like to call it giving a gift to your future self. Like, how can you
I love that.
Make it easier. So I think you talked a little bit about self-talk and being motivated and what it looks like. I think there's a sense of, I'm thinking of that. Like it's kind of like the ugly duckling, but like the redheaded stepchild idea. Like that's what's coming to my brain right now. But in general, like when someone what they want to be is productive, but what they don't want to be is lazy. And I have my thoughts, but I'm just gonna go ahead and ask the question. Do you think there's truly people who are lazy? Is that true?
I'm sure there are people who are genuinely lazy. I don't think it's the majority of us. I think most people just have mindset hurdles that are challenging to jump over, and they assume it's laziness versus assuming that it's just another hurdle that they have to jump over. And I really believe that this concept of feeling lazy and getting down on yourself for not doing enough and all that comes with it really stems out of a lack of permission to rest, and a lack of, we're so in the middle of this hustle culture, like the side hustle, the grind, I'll sleep when I'm dead, like people bragging about being busy. Like it's so ingrained in us right now that we have to just go, 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 go. And why? Why do we have to constantly go, 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 go? Like we actually shouldn't. That's not how our brains work. It's not how our bodies work. And so when we feel tired, we're going against what is ingrained in us to continue to go. And then we feel like, oh, it's because of me. It's because I can't continue going. I must be lazy. I must not be able to do this. I must not be as powerful or as whatever as I thought I was. And then we start, talking to ourselves in such a negative and disempowering way. So it turns into a very negative cycle that is challenging to step out of. And so just realizing, like, am I giving myself permission to rest? Am I like okay with allowing myself to have some quiet moments? Am I using those quiet moments effectively? Am I actually resting? And like diving into those kind of questions can really reveal if you're actually lazy or not lazy, because I guarantee you, you're not actually lazy.
There's so much on this topic because what I love the most is that if in general you feel right now that you are quote unquote lazy, if that's what's coming up for you, there's so many things at play. You
So
may
many.
be deciding that you got to do the big thing all at once, that you must finish it in time. So you've overwhelmed yourself before you began. Or just like Emily was saying, that you deserve fucking rest. You deserve rest. Like there will be days where I walk in going, I would love to just like get into the day. I would love to do these things. And then I end up feeling so like loved by laying on the couch. And
Yeah.
I saw it on TikTok the other day. They're calling it like a rotting day, which I don't really like that. But in general, like where you just relax and you truly get to not feel guilt about relaxing. And I think that's a big part of it. But also too, there might be comparison that's happening. Oh, this other person is more productive than I am. And I think what comes down to it is that these are simply like productivity. While it sounds like it's this very specific system, it's also a feeling. You can sometimes feel
Absolutely.
productive. You can also sometimes feel like your body is shouting at you, like, we don't want to figure out the math of the day. We don't want to
Yeah.
figure out all the
Not
hard tools,
today.
the tasks. Like we're supposed to enjoy this life. Why don't we be productive laying in nature? Why don't we be productive somewhere else? So I think whenever someone talks about I am lazy, it's like, what is the blocks? Like what truly are
Exactly.
the blocks that are happening? So let's say somebody is going on 5 days straight of not being able to get the task done that they want to, and they're like, I am lazy. How would you walk them through that to help them get to either a better place or know what they need to do next?
Yeah, that's a great question because I feel like that's a lot of the time a variation of what most of my clients come to me for, right? And so first, I always really kind of start off with why do you want to do this? Let's go back to the basics, back to the beginning. What is it that makes you want to do this goal? Let's say, for example, you're starting a business. Why? Why do you want to start a business? Okay, great. You have your reasoning. Now let's actually visualize a successful business. Let's write a vision and visualize what your life will look like in, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, whatever time frame clicks with you. And let's get excited about that. Let's start looking forward to when that vision will become a reality, right? So that's always the first step that I start with. And then from the vision, we break it down and we work backwards by creating an action plan. So that way you actually feel like you have a path forward and you know what your next steps are. Now, you can know what your next steps are, but taking them is a whole different story. And that really is where routine comes into play, self-talk comes into play. And so let's say you have this self-limiting belief of I am lazy. How do you overcome that? One of the first things I would actually have my client do is start writing affirmations where it says, I am successful. I am worthy. I am moving forward. I am building a foundation, and just go through all of these kind of empowering I am statements that remind you, no, you're not lazy. You're on a journey. You're on a journey of going through ups and downs, and there will be times wherein you have downs, but you're still successful. You're still moving forward. You're still doing the damn thing. Let's not
I
forget that.
love that. Okay. Oh, here's the thing is that what you're sharing in there is identity work. Well, what you're
Yeah,
sharing in there is being able to get grounded in the fact that you can you can be all these things, but you're choosing that I am moving forward. I am. This is what you're choosing. You're not sitting in
exactly.
uncertainty, like waiting for the balance to decide for you. But even on the other end of the spectrum of that, instead, whenever you're feeling negatively, like whenever you are feeling lazy, add that word in there. I am feeling lazy today. And like
Yes.
it can open up just this curiosity of like, why am I feeling lazy? What is it? Like what's the thing that's
Yep.
causing me, instead of this going like, I'm a lazy person, I'm no good, I'm not enough. I think it's really easy to take negative feelings to mean something much bigger about you, and then for whatever reason discounting the positive feelings like
Totally.
when I'm focused, when I have a full like 3 hours of like, I'm doing this shit, everything opens up. The power is like, it's going to happen.
Love.
It's just a matter of time.
Yep.
I allow that feeling to continue to spread, for the fact that just on the other end of the spectrum, it's easy for me to be like, I'm feeling sad. I guess nothing's going to work out. Like, I would rather spiral upward,
Totally.
positivity, and then with those negative feelings, be able to just pull it back. So I love that affirmations that are built in identity work are part of this. That's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think self-talk is just so influential to our productivity that if we aren't, making ourselves feel good, we're not going to act like we feel good. And so just starting with that foundational work, I find is so incredibly effective. And then really, it's also about just implementing these routines and taking control back in your day, because so often we are unproductive because we're unintentional. And so if we can just get that intentionality back and we can just, get that control back, our productivity will naturally boost. And so what routine is it that's either you don't have, or that's maybe not full of distractions, or maybe it's not helping you in any way? So analyzing your routine. And I always have my clients actually track their week. So I give them a workbook that I created and they literally track their week. So that way they can see their energy fluctuations as well. And they can see, I'm actually really energetic in the mornings. And that's when I feel like I could eat the frog and do my tougher tasks. But then in the afternoons, I would way rather just like do my meetings. So that way I don't have to actually work in the afternoons. Okay, great. Awareness is power. Once you track your week and you actually learn that about yourself, you can then set up your schedule to match your energy fluctuations. So that way you always have the energy to do the tasks that you need.
I love that. I love that. I like to tell my clients to time block, and I think the number one thing with that is just to have an idea of what you would hope your week to
Yes.
be. And that, even built in that, like if I have a creative block, no one can book meetings. But if I have a
Mm-hmm.
client block, then people can book meetings. Stuff like
Exactly.
small like systematic parts. But then the next question I usually get is, yeah, I did it, but I don't actually follow it. And what I love about this is that people go like, time blocks don't work for me. And I
Yep.
go, you're full of crap. It's just it's the idea of like somebody giving someone a dumbbell set and then they don't use it. And they're like, dumbbells don't work for me.
Yeah,
And like,
exactly.
lift the thing, like try the thing. And I find that the way you spend your time absolutely is such a wonderful way to build self-trust in yourself. Like if you
Totally.
have a goal and you don't believe you're going to hit the goal, how can you commit to something small towards that goal? And if you hit it every day, that's self-trust. But the same thing comes with time management, is that
Mm-hmm.
exactly what Emily's saying. Design your week. What do you want it to look like? Pay attention to where you have your most energy, build that up, but also truly commit to trying it for an entire week.
And you
Because
know what? Sorry, I totally interrupted you. I just
no,
got
you're
so excited.
perfect. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, a lot of my clients will get really nervous when I have them outline what I call the ideal weekly flow, because we're just flowing through our week and how do we want to do it ideally. A lot of my clients will be like, well, yeah, but my current schedule doesn't allow me to do that. Like if my current schedule isn't matching with my ideal one,
I
how
know.
am I supposed to
Oh my God,
eventually
I've had
do
this
my
conversation
ideal one?
so many times. And so, okay, go, keep going. Okay.
And I'm like, you're right. That is the point of the ideal schedule. It's not our current schedule. That's why it's an ideal one, right? And so there is one thing on that schedule though that you can start today. There's one thing, whether it's your morning ritual, whether it's doing a workday startup ritual, whether it's adding one habit into your week, just start with one thing and then add it to your calendar and make it a calendar event. So that way nobody can schedule you during that thing. So if you want to, let's say, meditate every single morning, then add that to your calendar, add 10, 15, maybe 5 minutes, however long you choose to meditate for. So that way it is there. and you have to literally ignore the calendar event to not do it. And so you don't ignore all of your other calendar events. Don't ignore this one. So I find that's a really effective way to slowly but surely shift into your ideal week, 1% at a time.
I completely agree with this, but I even want to take it a step further. If you are trying to design your ideal week and you're like, I can't do that though with how my week is,
Mm.
this is a perfect example of other people deciding how you spend your time. So if you are
Mm-hmm.
not able to put in the morning routine, you're not able to decide what it's going to look like, this is where you're going, okay, that was past me. Current me spends her time for herself or spends her time building towards her goals or spends her time intentionally with her family. So I'm going to start by clearing my mornings. And that might be
Exactly.
where someone goes, wait, I can't book her 10 o'clock. Be like, well, the afternoon is perfectly available to you, or this is
Mm-hmm.
what it is. And, it's not as rigid as people think it is. It's
It's
truly
not.
just letting them know what's your terms, what's your standards, what does it look like? And then when somebody decides to break that time boundary of yours, you get to decide and like, okay, for this person, will I allow myself to take a meeting at
Yes.
11 a.m.? And you know what? This is important enough. I'll do this one time versus having that be a completely open field of availability all week. So I just
Exactly.
like whatever you want to spend your time differently, you got to start to shift and inform people of how you see time for yourself. And your time is fucking precious. It's so like
Absolutely.
allow the boundaries to set the terms. And one of the things that comes up, especially with my people pleasers, is that they think, oh, if I do that though, they're not going to like me, or they're going to think I'm like mean, or I'm a bit of a bitch, or whatever it is. And at least according to science, you're wrong because it's like people respect the way people who
Yeah.
spend their time. They respect them. They also are not like just expecting them to stop what they're doing. They go,
Mm-hmm.
hey, I have one of these things. Like this is something all the way back in corporate days because I ran social media for larger corporate businesses before I started mine. And people would always come up and want to talk to me about, oh, you could try this. Could you post this today? Could you do that? And I remember how hard it was at first for me because it was an open floor plan, which I hate open floor plans so much, where I had to simply like turn and go, I am not available right now
Yeah.
to like, brainstorm. And then they would be like, are you serious? And I'm like, send me an email. And at the first time I did it, my whole like it's like it was in my throat. I wanted
Yep.
all the things, but I kept staying until 8 o'clock at night until I could finish
Yeah.
things up. And then where's my life supposed to happen? So
Exactly.
I love this idea of, or I love like just bringing up this question. If like your immediate question when we're talking about time blocking or designing your week goes, I can't do that. Time for boundaries,
And
time to understand who you want to be.
exactly. And this is also why I think doing a vision before this step is really, really helpful. Because if you feel like you do not have time to create your ideal week, then you're not going to have time to do your vision. You're not going to have time to hit your goals. You're not going to have time for anything that you want unless you make the choice to make that time. And so it's just the hard truth that I always have to be very blunt about with my clients and saying, like, look, you came to me to make changes. So let's make some changes. And it's like always a little bit of a battle because change is hard. Change is scary. We don't know how it's going to work out. And we just kind of have to hope it works out in our favor. But when when the change is more of taking control back, that change is great. That change should not be scary because it's all about empowering you and making sure that you actually achieve your vision. And that right there is honestly really exciting. And it feels really good to follow through and to build that foundation bit by bit for your vision. So that way you know that you're actually going to achieve it.
I love that. I love it. I find that vision boards or even just like how like writing out what an ideal day
Mm-hmm.
feels like or looks like
Yep.
is just for me it's just a picture of your why. Like we like,
Exactly.
oh, like decide your why. And then but vision is like, no, what does it look like when you achieve your why? How can you kind of attach yourself to that? And for me, I love that whenever even too, I think that I have like we all do, where my alarm goes off and I'm just sitting in bed going, And it's much more powerful for me to go, oh, I want to feel like I made somebody's day with posting today. I want to feel like I'm like really nurturing my clients like dream businesses. I want like I'll remind myself a little bit of the feelings behind the vision board, not just like you want to help make people live their dream lives. Like it's like, no, what's the feelings? What is it? And I think that's
Yeah.
like tapping into the emotion of your goals, emotion of what it's all these like boundaries and setting these hard lines with yourself or being disciplined, committing, whatever it might be. What is it all for?
Yeah.
And leaning into the feelings of your vision, I think is such a big deal.
And something that you said that I think is so, so key is you do this often. You said you do it like when you wake up in the mornings. Like that's a daily practice. So we can't just write down our vision or create a vision board once and then let it go. We have to keep coming back to it and we have to keep reminding ourselves of our why, because in the nitty gritty of the daily life, of the daily grind, we can easily start to forget. And so, not allowing yourself to fall backwards, but to instead have that lens focused on your vision is so key. So, reviewing it, reading it in the morning. I personally have a vision board that my boyfriend and I made taped up on my office wall, like right in front of my desk. So that way, whenever I look up, I see it. And it's like a nice reminder of like, okay, this is why I'm sitting at this desk right now. And so, just having those little cues around you is so incredibly effective.
I I I love it. No, I will say that I do have a practice of in the morning, like especially when I'm having a little bit of trouble getting out of bed, of truly like visualizing how I want to feel in different points in the day and what is that going to be. And it helps me just to do it instead of just kind of walking in. Like I've fallen victim to like, oh, I wake up and I start scrolling and then I kind of go
Yeah.
like, hey, what was I supposed to do versus
Yeah.
and I go, oh, I want to feel this way. Scrolling's not going to do that, but this is going to help doing that. And like even to at the end of the day going, what did I do today that just made me
Yep.
happy or made me proud of myself? Like having just as small practices that allow me to be like, oh, I decided how I used my day. I decided
Yeah.
how this worked. Part of this, and I have two more questions for you, but the part of this is that I think a lot of mompreneurs are one
Hmm.
of the first people that kind of like brush up against me and say like, no, I can't create an ideal schedule for me. And I have the pleasure of have had two mompreneurs that have come through as clients as one-on-ones where we design their day and we actually like taught their kids with
Yeah.
them going like when mom's working like she wants to have her best focus and this is how she does it and if
Yes.
like if you have a question for me just know that you got to knock and ask we just like teach
Yeah.
them that
That's
like mom's
great.
doing her badass stuff over here and yeah of course like it takes a while for a kid to learn the pattern but
Of course.
they'll be like a month later going they don't bother me like they know what to
It's
do
a
like
miracle.
they like start coloring when I tell them it's time for mom's focus time. Like
Yeah.
they know what to do. And it's just like you got to do it repeatedly,
Yep.
just like you have to set the boundary repeatedly, and it works out, which I think is I just want it to be like it's possible. Even all of you that are like, no, I have kids, I can't do this. Like it's practice, repeating, and knowing that you're worth it, knowing that it's worth you being able to give yourself that space.
Absolutely. Knowing your worth it is so incredibly key. And then also just kind of think about this. Your kids are already on a routine. You're just adjusting their routine a little bit, like you're going to do every year moving forward. This is really no different than that, except it's in your favor. And so just remembering that, like, it's not actually as big of a deal as we're making it out to be. Let's just try it out and go with it. And I love that you have your kid, like the kids, join the coaching sessions. I am so going to start doing that with any of the mompreneurs I have because that honestly is so key and important. Though it's communicating these boundaries. How are we communicating it with our kids, and how are we making it like our spouses or even our dogs sometimes? Because my dog will just start barking every single time I hit record on something. And I swear it's always like that. So, how do you take back your control? And I love the way that you do that.
It's amazing. It's amazing. Okay, so let's do a quick round of
Yes.
what systems, what software in general would you recommend for anyone who's just wanting to up their productivity?
So, one of the free best apps that I think is out there is called Google Tasks. It's actually already connected to your Gmail if you use Gmail, and it's already connected to your Google Calendar. And you can download it as an app on your phone, make it a widget on your screen. So that way your to-do list can just be on your screen. And what's so great about it is you can add in dates and times. So that way it's automatically added to your calendar and you don't have to do it yourself.
Beautiful.
Huge advocate of Google Tasks. I have every single one of my clients on it and I use it daily.
I love that. I love that. So there's Notion, there's ClickUp, there's all these like project
So
management
many.
devices. Which one do you like the most?
I like Notion for collaborative purposes. I use it with my virtual assistant a lot. And we have a lot of like content calendars in there. We have blog calendars. We put a lot of content in there, kind of use it like a Google Drive almost, but with a little bit more.
I
So
love
I
that.
do love Notion, but if you're trying to do just standard task management, I actually wouldn't recommend Notion. I think Notion is much more for project management, bigger, like if you're trying to handle multiple projects at once, if you're trying to collaborate with other people, that kind of sense.
What would you say it was the simpler one? So like if
I
someone
honestly, I will
Google
live
Task,
by Google Tasks.
Google
I
Task, going back
really
to Google
will.
Task.
I think it's just so simple. And that's kind of what I view as one of the biggest hurdles in the productivity culture right now is everything is just too damn complex.
Yeah.
And we need to simplify it. We need to just make it as easy as possible on ourselves to do. And if we're using 10 different apps, that's not easy. That's not feasible. It's not realistic. So one app, that's realistic to do, especially an app that already connects to your calendar.
Yeah, I would agree with that totally. I love looking. I'm Notion. I'm a Notion queen. I, in
I love it.
general, have many dashboards. I, I'm just shouting out to Danny because I brought her kicking and screaming over to Notion because she loved Trello so much, and I'm like, let me show you what's possible. But also being able to understand, like, we want everything to kind of communicate with each other, that you're not trying to like overdo it. So I love Google Tasks, Google Calendar. Leave it to that. If you want to
Yeah.
get a little bit more like branch out.
Yep.
I app like Notion. There's a lot of Notion templates out there. I'll put in the show notes a couple of mine for content planning, but in
Oh, I
general,
love that.
there's like
I'll
full
use your
out.
template. Wait, do you have one for content planning? Oh my God, give me.
You have no idea. It's
I'm
so
so
well
ready for
put out.
this.
It's so amazing. I'll send it your way.
Amazing.
Thank you so much, Emily, for giving your time. I have one last question for
Oh,
you.
let's
I
do
like to
it.
ask all my guests. This is called Limitless. So in general, what would you say it means to be limitless for you?
So I actually have a quote written on my board because I try to remember it all of the time. And it's by Marilyn Monroe. And it says, "The sky is not the limit, your mind is."
Ooh.
So I believe that being limitless is really about just believing in yourself and having that full-blown confidence and not doubting yourself.
Oh, I love that. There's nothing you can't do.
Exactly.
Let's let make that happen. Amazing. Emily,
Exactly.
how can we stay in touch with you?
You can find me at theproductivityflow.com. I'm also on Instagram, LinkedIn, and TikTok at The Productivity Flow.
Amazing. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much. I had so much fun. This was great.